Thank you. Okay, let's take a seat. Laura, thank you very much for that warm introduction. Please, panelists, let's get comfortable, shall we? We've got a 30-minute discussion here to set up the day. Here in the United Arab Emirates, that's what we're going to be focusing on in this conversation with our esteemed panelists. We're going to take you through this in the next 30 minutes, and then we'll head on with the rest of the sessions of the day. Laura has just introduced our wonderful panelists today, but once again, to remind you, sitting next to me, Her Excellency Dr. Farah Al-Zaruni, Massimo Falcioni, and Khalid Ben Hadi. Thank you all very much for joining. Now, I know we have a lot of people from the Emirates in the room, but for those who are foreign visitors to this country, let's talk a little bit about this program, Make It in the Emirates. It's basically the UAE emerging as a global leader in fostering industrial growth and innovation through this transformative program, which we're going to be discussing. And one of the very measurable outcomes of this is that the UAE accounts for approximately 65% of the GCC's industrial output. Now, this is, of course, supported by a steady stream of foreign direct investment and high-value industrial exports as well. So diving into this and working out why this program works and how it can be a roadmap for other countries, especially developing countries, let's begin with my panelist immediately to my left, Dr. Farah. Can we talk to us a little bit about the program, Make It in the Emirates, and how it can serve as a model for other nations?
Well, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First of all, I would like clearly to extend an appreciation and to the organizers for such a great opportunity to be here and to discuss one of our main initiatives, Make It in the Emirates. Well, I think Make It in the Emirates is a role model to many nations and its vision and the approach adopted by the leaders. So it provides a holistic, multifaceted approach to bring and to provide a diversified industrial strategy and a model that can be easily adopted by others. But to reach to that stage, I think we should highlight the key points of Make It in the Emirates and why it became one of the very important models that has been already adopted by many. The first key point is the importance of the government and industry relationship and engagement. And I think we have made a clear strategy for that. We came up during 2020 with the Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology industrial strategy, but at the same time we maintain our relationship with industry, and we made it very clear that this is built upon a very transparent relation that adopts the industrial needs, at the same time maintain that we look at safety, quality, and we bring every single opportunity in place. So this is the first key point. And then the second one is bringing developing the quality infrastructure. And I think if we talk about the quality infrastructure, we must highlight the score that UAE achieved recently, 2 weeks ago, with the UNIDO report. In 2022, we were 11th worldwide in our score, L group. 2 weeks ago, we've been able to score the 5th. So we've jumped 6 scores. This is a great achievement for the UAE
That's fantastic.
Government. It's not only that, but looking at the quality infrastructure, and this is not something new. It didn't come with the Ministry of Industry. It was there in place, but we came up with many initiatives along with our stakeholders from the private and government, together to bring that ecosystem, industrial ecosystem, which attracts foreign, investors, and to maintain also our national strategy and make it one of the robust agile and very much open to the innovation and the changes in the industrial ecosystem. So this is the second point. The third point, and I don't want to take really much time, but this is an important point, which is the investment. And bringing that ecosystem which attracts foreign investors, and at the same time maintain a very friendly based ecosystem which very much open to the changes, and it's built upon mitigation those risks. And I think the pandemic was one of the main challenge faced by not only UAE government, but every single government. And I think we've grabbed that opportunity in a very smart way to bring that ecosystem in place.
I was going to say, when you said 2020 was the kind of origin of this vision, that was a very troublesome year for a lot of people and manufacturers and industrialization sort of strategies around the world. You had the pandemic, you had a supply chain crisis off the back of that, and sky-high inflation. So we'll come back to discussing the UAE's kind of strategic role at the sort of heart of a lot of geopolitical trade later on. But first I want to go over to Massimo and talk about roles that institutions like the Industrial Development Bureau, which I understand is within the Abu Dhabi Department of Economic Development, what sort of role does that play in facilitating industrialization growth?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Firstly, I would like to thank GMIS for the invitation and His Excellency for the keynote speech, which clearly set the tone of the discussion of industrial manufacturing development that we are experiencing in Abu Dhabi. And I echo what Her Excellency Farah just mentioned before, Dr. Farah. The strategy, the government-led strategy provided an important result. We see that today the contribution to the Abu Dhabi GDP of manufacturing sector achieved 9%. And it arrived, it is in a very short time. So what Abu Dhabi did, implementing, embedding all the robustness and the principles that at Moyat has been identified in making the Emirates in a strategy. So the good thing for the Emirate of Abu Dhabi was to have an Abu Dhabi industrial strategy. Now the role of IDB was exactly to ensure through programs that all the industrialization would have happened according KPIs and according some particular streams. So let me go more in detail about that. In terms of KPIs, the contribution we do expect by 2031, thanks to the initiatives put in place in Abu Dhabi by the industrial strategy, Abu Dhabi industrial strategy, is 178 billion dirham. As of today, we are talking, we are almost close to that now. So very far from the timing, but we have already anticipated that. This was possible to launch programs which were facilitating, firstly, the registration of industrial companies. So it has been streamlined, the framework, to allow the entrepreneurs which want to register under industrial license in a very simple 3 steps. The first one, which is called ROAD, very simple, where it's possible to have a license in a very, very short time. I would say that the service level agreement, it's in between 3 days' time. Of course, at that stage of time, it doesn't mean that they can already operate and or access some incentives that the Industrial Bureau put in place in order to ensure the development. But of course, it gives immediately, a comfort for whoever wants to create an industrial facility in Abu Dhabi, that it is possible and can start. Then there is another one, which is under construction area, which means that it takes some time to access facility, land, electricity, connectivity, and all these things happen with a potential incentive and support by IDB. So the IDB put in place some programs. One is called ETIP, Electricity Tariff Incentive Program, where it's possible for those manufacturing companies which match some criteria to get a reduction of the cost of electricity. Also, they can get a reduction of the cost of gas. And why? What is the reward? Well, those companies which prove that when they implement their facilities, they can make an effective consumption of gas and electricity, they are rewarded. So the way how we implemented was, yes, to have manufacturing development, but rewarding those companies which follow some particular criteria in terms of circular economy, in terms of reducing the cost of consumption of electricity and gas. So this was one of the key points to embed and implement what Her Excellency Dr. Farah mentioned. Not only to have the numbers, but also to have in a particular way. So another important program which is there, it goes in the first stage of the company development. So when the construction of the warehouse is built and it's time to build and to embed the equipment and machineries, again, IDB said, why don't we contribute to ensure that the kind of manufacturing we are doing will be 4.0, not 2 or 3.0. So the idea is to have automated, advanced technology manufacturing. And how to support and incentivize that? Supporting the investment of the companies, co-paying up to 50% of the cost of such kind of equipment for industrial licenses. So you see, that is the role of IDB, to ensure that all these programs, and there are many others, because we're talking about equipment, we're talking about efficiency, so something related circular economy, but then we also talk about creating the capabilities of the manufacturing. So to ensure that also the talents, that there are many in Abu Dhabi, have the proper skills to be prepared for this advanced technology manufacturing. So all these programs is under the responsibility of IDB.
Fascinating. And, you know, hearing you talk about that makes me want to ask the same question I asked to Dr. Farah, which is, do you see there is an appetite for other nations wanting to use this Make It in the Emirates program as a roadmap? Are you being approached by people who want to learn how you've done it?
Yes, absolutely. I would recommend this as a role model because, as you see today, the theme of today's GMIS is safety. Now, by putting attention to the consumption, effectiveness, the way how we do manufacturing in a diligently implemented approach, will also enhance the safety. And we work a lot, especially in measuring and controlling on the data in the manufacturing process. So if that manufacturing process are under control and AI is also implemented there, we can understand, predict, and see things where there might be some dysfunctionalities that ultimately might lead to some accidents. That's why we think that, of course, the Abu Dhabi is absolutely a role model and of industrialization, and we are just at the beginning of a big transformation.
Fascinating, thank you. We will come back to talking more about safety, of course, being that it is the manifesto this year. But Khalid bin Hadi, thank you for your patience. And you speak to us from the point of view of the industrial sector. You're here from Siemens, of course, where you're the managing director of Siemens Energy UAE. But before we get on to talking about the sector and sustainability, I just want to ask you from the point of view of the Emirates, what you've observed in terms of the growth of industrialization in the Emirates through programs like Make It in the Emirates.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think today what we are addressing is a very important topic where it contributes to the economic growth of Abu Dhabi. And when I look at it from a Siemens Energy perspective, since we are one of the largest energy integrated company worldwide responsible for the energy value chain, I think our presence in the Emirates, especially in the UAE and Abu Dhabi, has been important. And if we reflect and look 40 years back and where we are today, the country has gone through major transformations. And looking at it from a global perspective, as Siemens Energy, the UAE particularly have put an ecosystem that not only focusing on manufacturing, because that's only one step of the roadmap, but actually a combination of multiple things. You need to have an infrastructure, and where UAE has took a further step by advancing the infrastructure that fits and cater for that growth. So the fact that UAE today and Abu Dhabi is becoming a global platform where they attract company investors, innovators, and also becoming a platform for logistics. And that's very important. Today, when we look at Abu Dhabi as a strategic hub for our region and globally, we need to look at it from different angles. Number one is the ecosystem, as I mentioned. You need to have the infrastructure. You need to have the incentives programs where IDO is playing an important role to attract and also to support the growth and also the international players. You have GMIS, where they have announced in 2023 initiatives called Sustainable Development, focusing on decarbonization. That's a very important step where it fits perfectly into the country net zero target by 2050, and also that where we, as an energy player, contributing and supporting that transformations. And also there are many aspects which is very important is the developing the next generations. We can build initiatives and factories and investments and technology, but if we're looking to cater for that growth and to continue to sustain it, we need to build and shape the future generations. So that's why we as a company are working closely with government, private, industry leaders, and academias. Today, Siemens Energy have established the 4th Global Innovation Center based here in Abu Dhabi in partnership with Abu Dhabi Investment Office, and this is very strategic partnerships and initiatives. The Innovation Center will focus on future technologies such as AI, hydrogens, blockchains, train and shape the future talents. So, and also we're using that platform to cater for the growth in the region and the globe. So today what we are seeing from our perspective that Abu Dhabi is becoming a global hub for technology, investments, and also what we liked about the fact that we are based in Abu Dhabi, most of the local, if not all the local companies are becoming a global players, which makes our business very strategic in terms of that collaboration and partnership. And this is one of our key partnership and collaboration is key for success. And today, with what we are seeing in terms of the fast moving, in terms of, let's say, transformations and technology, no company, either governments or private sector, can do it on their own. So the true partnership is really required. And this is what we are seeing today when we talk into our partners such as Abu Dhabi Investment Office and the others. So today what we are seeing is an important steps, building and bringing together initiatives like Make It in the Emirates. It's a very important initiative, to be honest. There has been a lot of talks, a lot of investments, a lot of strategy, but what is required is an initiatives that can bring and consolidate and put the roadmap for the next 30 and 50 years, and this is what we are seeing, and we are very much proud to work very closely with Make It in the Emirates and also to support the initiatives and the growth and contribute to the economic development.
Fantastic, thank you so much. And I want to come back and talk to you about sustainability because I know you probably have a lot to say given your role, but I want to come to you, Dr. Farah, to pick up on some points there made by Sir Khalid bin Hadi, because you're talking here about combining financial incentives, regulatory frameworks, and infrastructure development in a program like Make It in the Emirates. What lessons can other economies learn from the UAE's approach to this?
Well, as I mentioned now, the Make It in the Emirates is becoming a role model for many nations, and I think maybe looking at the main components of this successful story, we must highlight the components that either I've mentioned initially or even my colleagues. The 3 or let's say 4 main components. Infrastructure is in place. We are working closely with our stakeholders, making sure that we have a robust infrastructure, very agile, very transparent, and very flexible for any unforeseen issue. The financial support that was in place also in terms of incentives and encouragement of foreign investment and the attracted initiatives that brings different investor to the UAE. That was one of the main objective of Make It in the Emirates, and initially for the ministry itself. And then the third thing is meeting the consumer needs. And when I say consumer, I'm not talking about individuals. My main objective in this place today is the end user, is the industry. So I bring initiatives that meets their needs and their expectations. It's not about bringing, I can bring every day new initiative, but if I don't see the output, and I was very happy today, just listening to my colleagues, talking about, the outcomes of Make It in the Emirates. We've just covered 3, rounds, and we're looking forward for the 4th one next May 2025. So it's a great achievement. I'm so proud, of this, collective work. The consolidated initiatives under one umbrella within one framework. That is the biggest achievement. The next one, or let's say the third aspect is, making sure that we bring also every single, incentives in place, especially when my colleague spoke about the logistics. The logistics is one of the main challenge, not only for UAE industry, but for everyone. And going back again to the pandemic, it was one of the main obstacles for everything. And we re-looked at our strategy, looking at our main, security aspects in terms of food industry or even other industries, looking at the raw materials, making sure that the waste of one industry could be easily used as a raw material for the other one. So we are bringing again a very effective and efficient ecosystem where every single end user is supporting the other one, making sure that there is a sustainable supply chain for the materials. This is important for the ecosystem and for this story to success and to achieve more and more.
And the UAE having such a strategic location makes so much sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So location-wise also, we looked at, the risk, and we mitigate those risks by looking at, different aspects and forecast the future, just to make sure that we will not have another pandemic. And even if we do, we will be very much, proactive, and we will be very much ready to, overcome any upcoming unforeseen
Who can plan, but one can try and have those systems in place for exactly those things that we cannot expect that arrive, just like the pandemic did. Listen, Massimo, I want to come to you and talk a bit about safety, because you highlighted before the way that AI has been woven into the industrial sector here in the UAE. AI is, it's an absolute force to be reckoned with, especially in Abu Dhabi. You can see what is being done here. It's incredible. This year, GMIS obviously is focusing on safety, both physical and cyber. So I want to ask you how you can make AI form part of the industrial ecosystem here in a safe way.
Well, firstly, I would like to echo my brother Khaled here when he mentioned about ADIO initiatives to support to building the capabilities. Now, building the capabilities, example of AI in the Abu Dhabi, I cannot forget to mention an initiative from ADIO and Microsoft. So what ADIO said in order to have to attract here for direct investments, advance in the global companies, we need to have access to talents. And there are many talents in Abu Dhabi, but the important point is that they have to be also prepared for the innovation, example, the AI. So partnering with Microsoft and supporting, even financially, the investment of Microsoft to create a competence hub to train local entrepreneurs in order to ensure, and also talented Emirati in Abu Dhabi, it creates a basin of potential talents. By doing that, those talents can be, of course, transferred inside our manufacturing facilities. We do the same with Siemens Energy. I remember the inauguration when we were at Siemens Energy was specific, because each sector then might have different kind of usage of a particular competence and skills to be developed. And we will not stop there. These are all success stories of Abu Dhabi. When we say about the role model, the government role is to create an environment when the private can flourish. The government role is not to subsidize the economy. It's to create the ecosystem where all the private can come and realize their ambition. So this is very important. And by the way, I want to mention one important point regarding, again, making the Emirates, which is something which they ask us many times, the investors, when they approach us. When they come to Abu Dhabi, they ask access to capital, and we are in Abu Dhabi. It's the capital of capital, with only 3 sovereign funds, more than $1.7 trillion of asset managed. There is enough. Access to finance, and we have a very strong banking system. They ask then access to talents, very important. That's why it's very important to build the capabilities in AI, in energy, whatsoever. And another important point they ask us is access to markets. Now, this is where making the Emirates make the difference. Those companies which participate to the program of making in the Emirates, and I want to mention the in-country value, it gives them the opportunity to, get business from the procurement of the government entities, because they get a higher score in selecting their products. And this even in Abu Dhabi has been implemented even in another program called the Golden List of products. So some products which are preferred, which are the most common use, there are more than 260 products in the Golden List, which are, so if you are manufacturing one of those products, you will be preferred in the procurement of the local government companies. Now, this is concrete, real things for entrepreneurs. This is what they are looking at. So when they come to us, they say, can you help us to connect to the market? Of course, local market through making in the Emirates. And of course, also they ask internationally, and as you know, there are other programs like CEPA, the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreements, which connect also internationally, creating these highways of export. So Abu Dhabi becomes not anymore a destination, but a starting point. It's a real hub for expanding globally. And that's why these companies becomes global companies, the one in Abu Dhabi, not local companies.
Really, really useful to hear that, how it can, the ideas can be formed here and then grow, like you say, rather than companies just coming here for capital or investment or growth. Look, just finally, I want to come to you, Khalid, if you wouldn't mind, to talk about the role of sustainability and why it's so important to integrate it into industrial strategies to enhance long-term competitiveness.
Yeah. Sustainability is becoming a key in each business and sectors. And we like the fact that the UAE has taken bold steps, bold statements, and not actually announced initiatives, but by doing it. And when it comes to sustainability, you cannot do it on your own. You need to have that kind of true partnership. You need to have a vision. You need to have rules, regulation that support the roadmap of sustainabilities. And I like the fact that we're working very closely with the UAE and we're using UAE as a model. Let me just share some key facts. When the Paris Agreement happened, the UAE was the first country to sign and to commit to the Paris Agreement in the region. The first country to announce net zero by 2050. The first country to take up on COP28 as a thought leader and to fight climate change and to make it as a success and deliver. You can host, but without delivering and having concrete outcome, it becomes useless. So this is why we are taking sustainability very seriously, and we need to work with partners such as the UAE. And I like the fact that where the oil and gas industries, they're not shying away. In the past, when COP happened for the past 27, everyone was saying there is no need for the oil and gas and the national oil companies to be part of it. But actually, they are part of the solution, And I like the fact that the UAE has said, no, we cannot ignore them, we need to integrate them. And today, there is a clear roadmap by the national oil companies how to decarbonize, how to reduce the CO2 emissions, how to be more sustainable. And they have acknowledged we will not be able to do it on our own. So we need to invite companies or global companies to have that sustainable, innovative solutions to bring our CO2 emissions and to be more sustainable. And that's why you see a lot of, let's say, the national oil companies such as ADNOC have announced a huge investments in clean tech and sustainability. And that fits perfectly into our overall strategy. And Masdar, as an example, Masdar is becoming a global player. Today, we are based in Masdar. So if you want to be part of the sustainability, you have to act on it. You cannot just say and talk about it. So today, we are using Abu Dhabi and the UAE as a role model, where true partnership can drive success. And one thing which I already emphasized about talents and capabilities today is not about executing for the next 5 years, but actually for the next 50 years. So we will have manufacturing, we will have economic growth, we will have investments, we will have advanced infrastructure. And look at the logistics. Logistics is becoming very important. Accessibilities. Today, the market in the UAE is not relying on oil and gas. Actually, it is going and being a diversified industry. This is very important for companies like us because we cannot just only rely on one sector. We need to be on multiple sectors. And what's really important, I think, which was an eye-opener, is the supply chain. Today, UAE is playing an important role in the supply chain. So it's not about catering for the local demand, actually, to the region and to the global. So for us, access to the supply chain help us to grow, to deliver on our commitment, and also to set the path for the next 30 to 50 years. Thank you.
Brilliant way to set off the days here with this opening panel session following the keynotes. And I want to thank you all very much for an insightful discussion and really laying out what Make It in the Emirates has done to make this country a future-ready ecosystem. A round of applause for Her Excellency Dr. Farah Al-Zaruni, Massimo Falcioni, and Khalid bin Hadi. Thank you all.
Thank you.